Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. You can see it's shaping up around here, becoming a comfortable, useful workspace. But I'm sure you're wondering, hey, the place, the move, the setup, what did this all cost you? Well, it cost me $5,551. Oh, and I forgot about first month's rent and security deposit. So the real number is $7,151. Now, we're going to break this whole number down throughout the video and show you every single dollar that went into it. But you might also be wondering if you even want a space like mine. I mean, there must be other options. You're working in a home workshop, and it's kind of a drag. Noise, space, electricity, other people. Sometimes you really can't do your best work at home. So you're thinking about leaving and setting up a totally independent workshop. Before you look too far, think about what you could do right here at home. If you're thinking about moving, try to buy a house that has another building right there on the property, something you could make into a shop. And if you have a little bit of property, maybe you could just build a building. And hey, I've got a backyard. Could I just build something out here? Hell no. I have a backyard, but it's tiny, and it would be completely illegal to build something back here. You might notice I've got a detached two-car garage, and those can make great shops, but my wife insists that we park the cars in there. She has no priorities. Believe it or not, buying a building for your new shop might not be crazy. For instance, I live in Cleveland, Ohio, an old industrial city with lots of available buildings. None of them are very attractive, but lots of these buildings are structurally sound and surprisingly affordable. Lots of them cost less than a small home. The mortgage on a small commercial building is often cheaper than the rent on a similar space. The catch is that commercial loans generally ask for a 20% down payment, and you often have to pay them off in 10 or 15 years. The upfront investment is much bigger than with a house. Buying a building can be a smart business move. If you can afford it, you'll build equity that you can borrow against down the road. If you ever want to stop using the building, you can sell it or rent it out, hopefully at a nice profit. There are no guarantees in this sort of thing, but lots of people make big money in commercial real estate, sometimes only with a couple of properties. Of course, if you're buying the place to use as a functional workspace, then it's buyer beware the whole way. Lots of solid buildings are completely trashed on the inside, and they'll need complete rehabs, even for a shop space. You're also going to be dealing with plumbing, electrical, and hidden issues like lead paint or asbestos. It's very hard to figure out how much these renovations will cost. Even if a place is in good condition, it might be set up for housing, retail, or offices, and you're still looking at a lot of work to make a good shop space. Of course, you can find buildings that are ready to go as shops, and lots of them are inexpensive. Unfortunately, they're usually big. Too big for a wood shop. This is why a lot of craftspeople end up renting a small space in a bigger building. This can be an ideal solution, but finding these spaces can be very challenging. If you just drive down the street in your town, you might see lots of places for rent. It's easy to get excited, but hold on. A lot of these spots are going to cost way too much. If you're new to commercial real estate, you have to understand that different buildings have very different values, and it all comes down to what the building can be used for. Generally, the most valuable commercial real estate is retail, because retail spaces are very profitable. They can bring in a lot of money, and they often don't need a lot of square footage. So a hip little coffee shop might make thousands of dollars every single day, but it doesn't need too much space. So people who want to put in a coffee shop, a little cafe, a fancy boutique, they're going to pay top dollar for relatively small spaces. But people who want to rent that high-end retail, they need a lot of visibility from traffic sources, super easy access for their customers, and a clean, high-quality environment. If you see a space that can be used for retail or high-end retail, don't even think about putting your shop in there. It's always going to be too expensive. Another type of property is stuff that's suitable for a medical building. Think about like a chiropractor. These spaces aren't quite as valuable as retail because They don't need that super high visibility from the street or the sidewalk, but they still need to be very high quality buildings. They obviously need to be really hygienic. So somebody who wants to have a little dermatologist's office or something like that, they're still going to pay a lot of money, and they want a very clean, very well lit space, not really a shop environment. You want to avoid those places too. Moving on down the line, we just have general office space. Obviously, there are fancy, expensive office spaces, but lots of offices are just sort of tucked away in little mediocre buildings. It's the reality of small business. Office space is kind of in the middle. It needs to be nice and it needs to have parking. That's key, but it doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't need to have great access from high traffic sources. It just has to be sort of decent and solid. Most office spaces are still going to cost too much for shops, and they're going to be set up the wrong way. It's going to take a lot of changes to make an office into a shop space. Of course, we also have housing, and anywhere you live in America, there is cheap, crappy housing. And maybe you could find the ground floor of a house or an apartment that could be made into a shop space, and maybe the price would work out on that, but probably not. You're going to need to look for something more industrial. Now, all the way at the bottom of our commercial real estate list is the garage or warehouse space. People also sometimes call this light industrial. These spaces are the least expensive because they can't be used for any of these other things. They usually don't have great visibility, they're not very attractive, they're not super clean, they're not beautifully appointed inside, they don't have any of the stuff that adds value. Of course, the good news is we don't need any of that stuff. So the cheapest type of real estate is also the type we're looking for. It can be really difficult to understand the differences between different commercial spaces, so let's go to an example. This spot is in my neighborhood. I saw it just driving down the street the other day, and when you first look at it, it looks really good. This was a bike shop until just recently, so it's a little bit like a wood shop. It doesn't have carpeting or a lot of fixtures you'd have to tear out. The size is pretty good. It's got big windows, lots of natural light that's going to be pleasant to work in, tons of parking. It even has its own parking lot out back, and it's on a main road. And most of these things are negatives. They're bad if you want to have a shop in there. This place is much too valuable as retail because of all the things I just noticed. I mean, just the fact that I could see it from the main road, that's a problem right there. That means it's a high traffic area, and that's valuable for retail. Those big picture windows, that's valuable for retail. Lots of parking, that means retail or offices or medical, all things that increase the value of the place. Now, this spot is listed, so I was able to look up the rent, and the current owner is looking to get $2,500 a month for this place, even though it's only about a quarter the size of my shop. Now, it's been on the market for a minute, so they're going to end up taking a little bit less from whoever finally rents it, but not much less. This is an inherently valuable space, and you shouldn't get too excited if you see something like this. It's too good for a non-shop application, and it's too out in the open. If you're going to rent a good shop space, you're going to need something a little scruffier and something that's tucked away, a little more out of sight. So, how did I get this place, almost 2,000 square feet of prime shop space, for $800 a month? Well, let's run down the list of things that we could use this space for. You can't see it from the street at all, which means it's going to be terrible for retail. It doesn't have any traffic. And then maybe you could use a building like this for medical, but let's be honest, this building is kind of gross. Without a significant rehab, you're not doing any medical procedures in here. Not any legal medical procedures anyway. Of course, a space like this could always be made into offices, except again, it's not set up for that at all. It would need an extensive rehab. The bigger problem is it has almost no parking. There's a big apartment building out there, and that building takes up almost the whole parking lot. I'm only allowed to use 1 or 2 parking spaces, which is totally fine for me. It's more than enough, but you can't run any kind of office without more parking than that. So it can't be office space. Now, maybe you could rehab this into housing, but the investment it would take to turn industrial space like this into real livable housing, that would be huge. The landlord is much better off just renting it to me. So that brings us to the only real use for this space, which is garage, warehouse, or shop space, which is exactly what I'm using it for. Now, all of this might make it sound like I don't feel lucky to have this place, but I do. I feel extremely lucky. I haven't mentioned yet that this place is within walking distance of my house. So I get out of my home, but I don't have a commute. I can just stroll over here anytime I want to. It's super convenient. Now, with commercial real estate, it's not like residential. You can't ask the landlord to really make improvements. What you see is what you get. They'll fix things that are broken, so my landlord fixed the roof, which was super nice of him, but when I wanted the floor to get fixed, or leveled at least, that was completely on me. I had to do it and pay for it. And that brings us nicely along to our breakdown of costs. So here's a detailed breakdown of all the money I spent to find, fix, and move into this place. Fixing the floor cost me $3,284. That's $2,000 for the wood and $1,200 for 2 days with a professional framing carpenter. The movers cost me $1,260. That's after I got a $500 discount when they didn't show up on the day they were supposed to. Packing supplies like boxes and stuff cost me $226. Brannon, my helper for the move, cost me $252, and I paid him $14 an hour, in case you're curious. Food for the construction, the packing, and the move cost us $194. We ate a lot of pizza over about a week and a half. Supplies for the shop, like lights, screws, and extension cords, cost me $393. Security and first month's rent cost me $1,600, and that brings us to a grand total of $7,151. And I know you might be thinking, oh my God, as a hobbyist woodworker, that is a lot of money for me. And let me tell you, I'm not a hobbyist. This is business, and that is still a lot of money. So now that I've spent all this money, is this space going to improve my bottom line? Am I going to make more money because of this move? Well, maybe, but also maybe not. Being able to do more things, more types of processes, shoot better video, that might bring in more viewers. I might make more money, but maybe I won't. Maybe I'm going to end up spending all of this money just for the mental health benefits, getting a little separation between work and home, working in a brighter, airier environment with more space so I can just move around more easily and be less stressed. Maybe I'm spending this money not to make money, just to make better videos because I make videos for a living and I want them to be the best they can be. It could be that I'm investing just in my viewers' experience so they can enjoy my content more. And I can live with that. That's a good investment. Now, if you have a more traditional woodworking business, like a cabinet shop or a fabrication shop, moving out of your house into a commercial space might unlock huge profitability in your business. But if you've been working at home for years, it's very difficult to really understand all the expenses that your household is absorbing for your business. You're using the utilities, you're using the internet, you probably eat at home, paper products, you're using the bathroom there, all of that stuff. When you move into a commercial space, all of those costs become things that your business has to pay for independently. So my heat is included in my rent, but I have to pay the electric. That's about $100 a month. I still have to get internet and security. I mean, I got security. I bought very expensive security, so you shouldn't try to break into my shop. At the end of the day, I don't know what kind of business move this is going to be, but I still feel okay about it because I just want things to improve. I want things to be better for my viewers and for my patrons. My patrons and viewers made this stuff possible. If you'd like to be one of those people and see more behind the scenes stuff, go on over to patreon.com/RexKrueger. Check out all the rewards I have for the people who made all of this possible. And my biggest, most sincere thanks to all of them. I'll see you next week with a video that won't be about my new shop. It'll be something much more woodworking or project related, and I can't wait. I can't wait to get back to normal stuff. Thanks for watching.